Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between the Greenskins led by Night Goblin Warboss and the Beastmen, who are going to be led by old Kazrak One Eye. And I'm actually not sure if he's on his chariot, so let's go ahead and go over here and check. So it looks like Kazrak is going to be riding his mighty war pig. Well, not riding, but being more so being pulled by it. But as far as his items go, he does have the Scourge, which I think is a pretty good item. You know, it'd be really cool if Scourge actually affected nearby troops, like it imbued poison on a small area. I think that would help Kazrak be a bit of a better choice. But regardless, he gives melee attack, melee defense, and then he also does have the Dark Mail, which this one always confused me a little bit. So around self, affects enemies in range, cannot target if it doesn't have a casting ability. Okay, 40-meter radius. So yeah, it just kind of lowers melee defense and armor. So kind of cool stuff there. But as far as my army goes, we're going to be playing a very defensive Greenskin army, which sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but it actually works pretty well. So we're using 3 Doomdiver catapults, which there's only a couple matches in which I like using these guys. And the Greenskin matchup is Greenskin versus Beastmen matchup is probably the one where I find that they work the best. So these guys are very good at chasing down Centaurs. They're good against Minotaurs, Giants. Surprisingly, they're like these, I guess just really powerful archers, I suppose. Kind of like a Bone Giant with no armor piercing, but they're heat-seeking. So if they have Harpies, the little flying goblins here, you guys can probably see one over here, is going to be hunting the Harpies down. If they have Centaurs circling and throwing axes or any sort of other, harass or skirmisher units, the Doomdivers are really, really good at chasing those guys down. So I'm going to be forcing my opponent to come to me. And this is also something a lot of Beastmen players don't expect, because not a lot of Greenskin players do use the Doomdiver catapults. Normally it's just very aggressive infantry, Savage Orcs, Biggins, that kind of stuff with the global wall. So yeah, that's going to be it. In the front line, we had to go very cheap because we did also get an Arachnarok Queen to really make sure our front line could hold once he arrived. So the front line is going to be all Orc boys, which really aren't bad. They can hang with most low-tier Beastmen troops, and with the Wa, they're going to be able to hang with the best of them for at least 30 seconds, which is pretty solid. So a whole front line of Orc boys here. We do have the Arachnarok Queen, so if he has a front line of Vestigors, the Queen should be more than handled at, more than capable of dealing with that. We're also going to be trying out a Night Goblin Warboss. So this guy, since we're playing a little bit more defensively, I wanted to have some battlefield control tools, namely the Tormentor Sword here. So hopefully we can chop down some troops with him and play a little bit defensively. We also have a Goblin Caster. So we have Itchy Nuisance, we have Sneaky Stabbin', as well as Cursed of Bad Moon. Protecting our artillery pieces, we have some Goblins. So we have Nasty Skulkers, 2 groups of standard Goblins. And I think that's it. I have a couple of Cav. I have 2 groups of Forest Goblin Spider Riders, which are a really good answer against Centaurs, and especially Centaurs with throwing axes, which are one of the only effective answers the Beastmen have against the Arachnarok Queen. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my army. For my opponent, he's got Harpies, which I do like, very good at chasing down Goblin Archers. He's got a couple groups of Centaurs, looks like 2 here. He has some Poison Hounds. In his main line, a little bit cheap, low-tier infantry, Ungor Spearman Herds. In the center, he does have the Koroks Man Rippers, which will be very good against my Arachnarok Spider. He does also have a Giant, who is another tool, so he has plenty of answers against my Spider, for sure, if these guys can actually get on that target. He's got a Deathcaster with Spirit Leech, Doom and Darkness to rout off some of my low-tier troops. The Butchers of Kalkengard, which are the ROR of the Minotaurs with the regeneration, and they're very scary if they're not being focus-fired by Goblins. So yeah, very cool army. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road. You guys already saw Kazrak, old One Eye, is just lurking over here in the forest, just riding on his pig. And I still think Kazrak's pretty terrible, but I see so many people bring him, so I'm not sure if there's something I'm missing, but I just feel like he's so bad compared to Morker or even Malagor, pretty much all the other choices. The Beast Lord, I guess, is kind of pretty much, he's basically just like an upgraded Beast Lord, I suppose. But anyways, the Harpies are going to be charging in here, trying to get an engagement on my Forest Goblins, but I do charge forward with my Spider to make sure that doesn't happen. And the Doomdivers are just kind of tearing apart these Harpies. Just I have all 3 of them just firing, and the Goblins are flying through the air, and it looks like they're heat-seeking some of those ones. But these ones, yeah, they're going for the low-ground Harpies right here, who are still trying to fly away. Oh, man, she got taken out. That was glorious. Anyways, yeah, my lines are going to be kind of forming up here, just waiting for the Beastmen to come up the hill. So I did have a bit of a high ground advantage, and you guys know how that goes. In the meantime, the Doomdivers are going to switch targets. I think I start going after the Giants, so let's go ahead and see. And man, I really don't like these Dark Elf maps. It's so hard to see what's going on sometimes. But yeah, they're coming in hot, and they do hit the Giant. And, over the course of a long battle, that's going to add up. Definitely does some okay work. So just waiting for my opponent to get a little bit closer. I think I had 2 of them attacking the Butchers and the other 2 attacking. And in the back, you can see my opponent is going to get the Harpies and go after the Doomdiver Catapult, which is a great play. Harpies are very good for that, but I do have a ton of Goblins nearby, so... And it's also very timely because the main line's going to be engaging here in a moment. So I'm going to be popping Wa, therefore these Goblins are just going to shred these Harpies pretty hard once they do engage here. So Doomdiver shooting in, I'm going to be summoning some Spiderlings as well, and the Wa is here. So now all of a sudden these Orc boys, which are quote-unquote a low-tier troop, are going to be very beastly. So you can see they're rocking a 55 melee attack. My opponent does use Doom and Darkness to kind of break them, and looks like the Orc boys are holding pretty strong in the front line. And I hear the squealing from Doom and Darkness. I usually play with my sound off, so I've been hearing it lately. But these Orc boys just shredding these Ungor Spearman herds, so that's going pretty well. In the back, I do use my Night Goblin Warboss and some of the lads to free up my artillery pieces. which I really need because, again, the Giant has just broken the center pocket. If you see here, not the Butchers of Kalkengard, but the goats with halberds, what are they called? Damn it, the Koroks Man-Rippers. They're going to push through despite my itchy nuisance because, of course, Doom and Darkness did rat off my boys and they got terrified, but they should be coming back. Over here, we just crushed it. The Orc boys were able to just massacre these Ungor Spearman herds, sending them back to Pan's Labyrinth. And over here, the Arachnarch Spider doing a pretty good job. He is Spirit Leeching it, but it's still, when it's saturated with Orc boys and like low-tier troops, it's going to be really tough to kill. And the Doomdiver Catapults still continuing to shoot at the Giant here, and they will get it. And you can see the Curse of the Bad Moon going down over here as well. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a swing and miss. And Kazarak One Eye's in here too, so he is going to cause some problems. You can see his Baconator here doing some pretty good work, but Orc boys, they're holding pretty firm for like a low-tier troop. Definitely happy with their performance. And I think part of that is having my Forest Goblin Spider Riders. And look at this, just useless, just running into the forest here. On Night Goblin Warboss, I've been using at the back with my Forest Goblin Spider Riders. My Nasty Skulkers have gotten a Smoke Bomb on these guys, so you can see they're getting dragged down and prison shanked. They're not going to be able to get away. Centaurs definitely have trouble against like how many Nasty Skulkers there are. There are so many of these little bastards. And yeah, just Smoke Bombing them. You can see they're trying to get away. And the Night Goblin Warboss, I think, is nearby as well. So he's providing get back here, making sure the lads keep fighting, and definitely doing well. But in the front, we got a bit of a kaiju battle. We have a Giant fighting against the Arachnarch Queen. And, with the Orc boys and the Nasty Skulkers I have here on the ground, we should be okay. Because the Skulkers are pretty much going to counterplay the Koroks Man-Rippers pretty effectively, unless they rout off. They might just tear out. But the Giant is taking a ton of damage from those Doomdiver Catapults. But a very good Centaur charge from my opponents right into the back of my Forest Goblins. And he actually terrifies and breaks my Nasty Skulker and my Orc boys. So all of a sudden, the Arachnarch Queen is alone. Granted, it does have sneaky stabbing, so this thing's going to be hitting pretty hard right now. And it looks like the Koroks Man-Rippers do get terrified as well, so very back and forth here. Over here, we do have a bit of a monster, not monster fight, but a master fight. The lads are coming in, the Night Goblin Shaman coming in with the steel chair, but it looks like he's not going to do a whole lot with his little prison shank there. And the Night Goblin Warboss is hunting down the Bray Shaman with the Lore of Death, which I definitely want to get rid of because those Doom and Darknesses and the Spirit Leeches are very good against my Arachnarch Queen, well, the Spirit Leeches. Doomdiver still shooting. I have two of them that are pretty much unimpeded. This one is being kind of harassed by this Deathcaster. But over here you can see the Itchy Nuisance going down. Kazarak is able to kill my caster, but it certainly took him his sweet time, but the caster is going to be running right now. But Kazarak's coming in, and if he gets a good charge to my Night Goblin Warboss, he could do some decent damage, but I have a ton of supporting infantry here. And Kazarak obviously is on a chariot. He's not meant for sustained combat, so he'll be okay when he charges, but after that he's going to get a lot weaker. Night Goblin Warboss honestly would probably win in a straight up duel, I think, because of the poison and his higher melee stats. 39-26 compared to 45-53, so that's a pretty big difference. We do get the Deathcaster over here. We get a Smoke Bomb, and the lads are just prison shanking him, having a good old time. One of my Doomdivers does rout off because of the Deathcaster, so very well played there, shutting that down, but it should be coming back. In the meantime, the Arachnarch Queen is taking quite a bit of damage up here on the hill, so I have to retreat. I'm basically just falling back, making sure it doesn't rout, trying to get it back to some of my Orc boys who are also rallying. And you can see the Giant actually got killed by the Arachnarch Queen as well as the Doomdiver Fire. So really, really happy with the Doomdiver so far. And you can see that Kazarak's going for the kill with the Scourge, trying to get the Queen, but the Night Goblin Warboss plus the Arachnarch Queen should have no problem just 2 versus 1-ing Kazarak. Kazarak has some AP, but obviously the Arachnarch Queen is such a tanky monster. There's goblins coming in, and we should be in pretty good shape there with the Tormentor Sword dropping. So if we take a look at the back line, the Doomdiver Catapults are back online, shooting happily. The Goblins were able to fend off the Beastmen herds back here and make sure they didn't get to their precious artillery equipment. And the Centaurs honestly had a little bit of trouble finding their home and getting in there. Like, they're just charging through layers and layers of Goblins, getting hit with Smoke Bomb, and they're a pretty squishy unit. They have very low melee defense, so even low-tier Goblins can prison shank them. And you can see they're getting dragged down pretty damn hard there. And up on the high ground, you can see that Kazarak One Eye gets taken out by the Night Goblin Warboss, as well as the Arachnarch Queen. And the supporting troops, so very well played to my opponent. It was a fun game for sure, and I love that build. I mean, if your opponent knows you're going to be bringing like Doomdiver heavy play, it's pretty easy to counter, but the thing is like nobody expects that. It's a very uncommon thing. I've actually brought it in a couple tournaments. I was playing against the Beastmen, and typically Beastmen go with a bunch of Centaurs, and Centaurs with throwing axes. It's very annoying and can kite and be good in melee. And if you just sit back there with Doomdivers, target the Centaurs, and just like sit with your hands behind your head, just sipping on some iced tea, like, man, you can just watch the fireworks. The Goblins do a really, really good job hunting down those mobile troops because they are heat-seeking. Like, you can't side strafe them as easily as like a cannon. They are an awesome troop, so I really like Doomdivers in this matchup. Aside from that, Orc boys did really well. The Night Goblin Warboss with his Tormentor Sword was super good for giving me some battlefield control. Can't complain about that, and yeah, felt like it was pretty good. And for my opponent's army, I liked it. The one thing I can't get behind, I've heard a lot of arguments for Kazarak, but I just think that he's just, it's so hard to win for me at least. I'm sure other people have had success, but like, Morker just having like Chaos Bond would have been so good here. The Chaos Bond would have just shreked my Orc boys in the front line. It would have just been so much more pressure. Granted, I mean, maybe we would have had answers and been able to take them down, but I think Morker is just so much better. On top of that, the Koroks Manropers, I like them and the Giant as kind of a tech tool against the Arachnaut Queen, but really I think the Doomdiver Catapults were the thing that kind of just threw things off. But his build was good. He had Harpies to take out my Archers, he had Hounds for Harass, he had Centaurs for Harass. I'm trying to think, maybe like cutting one of these two, like either go with the Butchers or the Giant, because they kind of serve a similar purpose. And then if you cut one of those, maybe you could get a couple more Bestivores or like a more heavy duty front line, which would have punished my Orc boys probably. So anyways, very well played by my opponent, Shetland Apache CC. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the lads in action. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.